CTV News with Matt Gilmore.
Good evening. Robert Mueller, the second longest serving FBI director and U.S. special counsel, has died. He was 81.
How do you know when that person who harbors the intent to kill American citizens is going to...
Mueller's family, in a statement to the Associated Press, said, "With deep sadness, we are sharing the news that Bob passed away on Friday night." They're asking for privacy. A cause of death was not given, but last year, Mueller's family told the New York Times he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 2021. Mueller was a decorated Marine with a Bronze Star, Purple Heart, and Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry. He was named FBI director 1 week before the September 11th attacks, and later led a historic 2-year probe into alleged collusion between Russia and Donald Trump. After he concluded Russia had interfered in the 2016 election, Mueller became a frequent target of Trump's anger. Following the news of his death, Trump took to social media today, writing, quote, "Robert Mueller just died. Good. I'm glad he's dead. He can no longer hurt innocent people." Well, there was a somber and emotional ceremony today for the families of 3 Quebec soldiers. They were honored for serving in Ukraine as Russia's full-scale invasion enters its 4th year. Sweeta Rassi has more.
For some in the room, it was difficult to hold back the tears.
There is nothing nobler than risking your life for other people.
3 Quebec men were honored for doing something their country didn't ask of them, defending Ukraine against Russia's full-scale invasion. 2 of those men never came home. From Joliette, Quebec, Jean-François Rattel was 38 years old. He died on the front lines in 2024. And Montrealer Émile Antoine Roy-Sirois was 31 years old when he died in July 2022, shortly after the war began.
Son nom restera vivant dans nos cœurs.
Today, their families stood in their place to accept the Ukrainian-Canadian Sacrifice Medal, which honors Canadian citizens who have been killed or wounded in action serving with Ukraine's armed forces.
I'm really touched. I'm really touched.
Denis Perrier survived the conflict. The veteran was 55 years old when he made the decision to go to war, an age where most would consider their fighting days behind them. He says he couldn't ignore that sense of obligation.
So I saw how our war can destroy families and child and kill people.
He was injured while he was there and spent 10 days in hospital. It's not clear how many Quebec soldiers are still on the grounds in Ukraine. Michael Schweck is the president of the Quebec Provincial Council of the Ukrainian-Canadian Congress. He says he's thankful for the volunteers who put their lives at risk.
The values of Ukrainians and the values of Quebecois are very, very similar. They value life, they value family, and they are willing to fight for it.
A sacrifice that will not be forgotten. Sweeta Rassi, CTV News.
Protesters gathered outside Google's offices in Montreal this afternoon, calling for a pause on AI development. They say runaway development of AI technology could lead to catastrophic social and economic outcomes. The protest is running parallel to a larger demonstration in San Francisco outside the headquarters of several major AI companies. The organizers say the technology is being driven by a few decision makers. They're calling for more government regulation and public consultations.
Most people really think that this technology is progressing too quickly. It's like invading their lives. It's threatening their jobs. It's like, disturbing their children. And they wish it would stop. And the companies are just proceeding against the will of the public. So it's really undemocratic. And so we feel like, just the world's population should have more say in this than they are currently having.
Meantime, U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders has released a conversation he had with the AI chatbot Claude. In it, he asks the chatbot how AI companies are gathering massive amounts of personal data and what they're doing with the information.
What's the goal here?
Money, Senator. It's fundamentally about profit. Companies collect all this data because AI allows them to turn it into valuable insights. They can predict what you'll buy, target you with ads that are more likely to work, charge different prices to different people based on what they know about you. Advertisers pay premium prices for access to these detailed profiles because they're incredibly effective at manipulating consumer behavior. And it's not just about selling you stuff either. Political campaigns use the same AI and data to figure out how to persuade you, which messages will work on you specifically. Data brokers buy and sell information about millions of Americans without their knowledge. The bottom line is that your attention, your behavior, your choices, all of that has become a commodity to be bought and sold.
Sanders has called for more regulations to make sure AI technologies benefit society and not just the owners of the tech companies. Well, Quebecers are mourning the loss of one of the province's greatest baseball voices. Sports commentator Roger Brulotte died Friday. He was 79 years old. He was part of the Montreal Expos from the beginning and was inducted into the Baseball Quebec Hall of Fame. Anastasia Dextrine reports.
Bonsoir, elle est partie.
Roger Brulotte's passion for baseball was unmistakable, and it resonated with viewers and peers alike.
It is quite remarkable the career path he started. You know, I mean, he's known for the Expos, he's known for calling the games on RDS and so many great lines that he had. He was just, you know, there's not a lot of real characters left in sports media these days.
Brulotte was born in 1947. He began his career with the Montreal Expos as a scout in 1969. Stints in recruitment, public relations, and marketing led him to sign legendary Major League players. He became a play-by-play radio announcer for Expos games in 1983.
When they asked him to be a broadcaster, they told him to be colorful, to put color into the broadcasts. And boy, did he ever. I mean, you know, like the bonsoir, elle est partie is his signature, but he's so much more than that.
Equal parts storyteller and showman, many of Brulotte's signature expressions became a part of the culture. And CJD 800 host Elias Makos says they also helped to bridge the gap between Anglophones and Francophones in Quebec.
If you wanted to watch the Expos, not all the games were on TV, and when they were often only in French. You know, so I grew up learning French thanks to Roger Brulotte and the other broadcasters, you know, French Quebecois broadcasters.
When Montreal lost the Expos franchise in 2004, Brulotte had a front row seat, but he stayed active in sports media as a columnist, analyst, and MC. Brulotte died on Friday at the age of 79, leading to a flood of online tributes from political and sports figures.
He was just as popular as any Expo great that we had in the room, you know. He was that kind of personality, and you know, whoever loved the Expos loved Roger Brulotte.
Root for the Expos.
For his impact on the Expos, baseball, and the Citizen of Honor in Montreal last year. Funeral details have yet to be announced. Anastasia Dextrine, CTV News.
And there will be a ceremony to honor Brulotte tonight at the Bell Centre before the Canadiens' home game against the New York Islanders. The two CAQ leadership candidates faced off in a debate today. In Quebec City, Christine Frechette and Bernard Drainville were questioned on the economy, Canada-U.S. relations, and infrastructure, among other topics. The third link sparked one of the most heated exchanges. Frechette accused Drainville of putting his ego ahead of what residents want by advocating for a route she says nobody wants. The two were later questioned about the tone of their exchange.
I'm looking for a reason explaining why he is still promoting a corridor for that project that is not sustained, that is not appuyé. Supported, thank you. That is not supported from people in the Quebec community and Lévis community, because I've talked with many people and nobody supported that specific corridor, and so I wonder what explains that. I don't understand.
I think people like the idea of not getting personal in these kind of debates. I think we're all part of the same family, and we're all going to have to be working together after. So I don't think getting there is a good idea. Now it's Madame Frechette's decision, but I had made the decision long ago that I was not going to go personal, and I stuck by that decision.
More than 20,000 CAQ members will vote for a new leader between April 7th and the 12th. A teenage girl died after she was struck by a vehicle Friday night in Vaudreuil-Dorion. Emergency services were called at around 8:30 p.m. to the crash on Boulevard de la Gare. The girl was pronounced dead in hospital. There is an investigation underway. Then later the same night, a 25-year-old driver was killed after his car hit a pickup truck driving near Granby in Estrie. Police say it happened when the car veered off of the Route 137 and ended up in oncoming traffic. The driver of the truck was also rushed to hospital. His injuries are not life-threatening. Well, there were closing arguments Friday in the Serge Odet murder trial. The 72-year-old is accused of killing Patricia Ferguson more than 30 years ago. Ferguson went missing in 1996. The defense questioned the memories of some of the Crown's witnesses. Given that so much time has passed, Odet was arrested in 2023. It followed an investigation by a private investigator working with the unsolved murders and missing cases of Quebec, with the involvement of Nouveau Info anchor Marie-Christine Bergeron. The judge is expected to render his verdict on March 25th. High school debate clubs are becoming rarer. The ones that are left say they teach important critical thinking skills. There was a tournament this week that put those skills on display. Denise Roberts reports.
The resolution is radical honesty. And these two sides are arguing for and against if it's ever okay to lie.
We don't like lying, okay? But we find it can be an important thing in life.
Even just a little. Junior debaters from schools across Montreal gathered for a one-day tournament at Alexander von Humboldt School.
It helps them with clear thinking, logical thinking, with research, with speaking skills, with rhetorical skills. And it's a great team exercise.
School debate clubs have become increasingly rare. There are only 4 schools in Quebec's English Language League. Whether it's funding cuts to extracurricular programs or focus on sports, Jonathan Bracewell says students are losing out on learning an important life skill.
At this particular moment in history, I think critical thinking might be the thing that is most important for every child to learn.
Competitors don't get to choose the topic, nor the side they're on. They only have 15 minutes before each round to come up with their arguments. Each takes a turn presenting their case and summarizing and rebutting their opponent's arguments.
The best debaters are the best listeners, even more than the ones who speak so well.
These juniors are just starting out and say they've already found it useful.
I've learned that in the future I'm going to need it a lot. Even if I'm not a lawyer, for example, or a job that needs debating, I'm going to need debating at some point in life.
I've learned how to argue better and make better arguments.
Debating is an amazing way to practice seeing from other perspectives other than your own, seeing as someone else, looking through someone else's eyes, and thinking from someone else's mind.
It just helps me see sort of the whole picture rather than just one side.
And that's what Coach David Smith says keeps him motivated to keep debating culture alive.
In the last generation, we feel like our opinions are increasingly part of our personal identity. And our personal identity has become really the most important thing about us in this age where everyone is promoting themselves online and through social media. And it's really difficult for us to back down from a position, to modify that position, to think differently about that position.
Learning how to see the other side and being respectful of other points of view. Denise Roberts, CTV News.
Time for a look at your forecast. Currently 3 degrees in Montreal. Sun and cloud for most of today, but that is going to start to change this evening. We are expecting periods of snow, and they're going to last right the way through tomorrow. All in, we could see around 10 centimeters of snow. Not exactly what organizers at the St. Patrick's Day parade had in mind. For the rest of the week, though, sun and cloud and hovering around 0 degrees with some more snow expected on Thursday. Coming up, a heavy storm batters Hawaii, causing concern a dam could fail. A new video shows a pop star moments before he was arrested.
by lies, trapping Canadians.
She's a 19-year-old girl.
W5 uncovers a crime syndicate, hunting for traffickers.
They just asked me to find people for them?
Watch W5, Saturday at 7 on CTV and Crave.
Now to the war in the Middle East. Israel's defense minister today threatened a surge in attacks against Iran. Meantime, the UK has condemned Iran for targeting a joint UK-US base in the Indian Ocean. Tom Sufi Burridge has the latest.
Thousands of additional US Marines and sailors heading to the Middle East as President Trump weighs up options to try and break Iran's stranglehold over the critical Strait of Hormuz. US officials confirming a second Marine Expeditionary Unit is now being deployed to the region. 3 amphibious ships which can land troops on shore seen departing San Diego this week. In total, 9,000 additional sailors and Marines and considerable firepower are set to arrive in the coming days, fueling speculation of a possible ground operation into Iran. The White House saying there is currently no plan for ground troops, but President Trump not ruling it out. The Pentagon now saying 232 US troops have been injured in the war, with 10 of them in a serious condition. 13 US service members have been killed. And overnight, the head of the International Energy Agency with this dire warning to the Financial Times, calling the conflict the greatest global energy security threat in history. Smoke billowing into the air at an oil refinery in Kuwait. Officials there reporting 2 days of consecutive Iranian drone attacks on that facility. The price of Brent crude spiking to $112 a barrel, with huge quantities of other vital exports like fertilizers and pharmaceuticals also stuck. This morning, dramatic new video showing Iranian missile fragments exploding in Jerusalem's Old City. Several people injured by the blast. Well, you can see the force of the blast from those missile fragments. We heard the thud from our hotel. We're in the Jewish quarter in the Old City, just yards away from some of the holiest sites in the world. And as the US and Israel continue to strike in Iran, Iran now warning of retaliatory attacks against US and Israeli officials at recreational and tourist sites worldwide.
An Iranian cluster missile hit at least 10 other sites in Israel today, including a kindergarten classroom in Rishon LeZion. A still photo shows the room destroyed with debris and craters in the wall. The mayor of the city in central Israel says the result could have been much worse if the attack had happened on a school day. A human rights group says at least 27 Iranian protesters have been sentenced to death. Another 100 face charges that could carry the death penalty. The group says Iranian state media recently aired hundreds of forced confessions to crimes punishable by death. This week, a 19-year-old wrestler and 2 other young men were hanged. They were the first to be executed from among the tens of thousands arrested. Here in Montreal, about 100 people from different groups came out to protest the war. The event was organized by a coalition of 3 pro-Palestinian groups. They say they're concerned about recent remarks made by Mark Carney, who's considering helping reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The spokesperson from the Iranian-Canadian Congress says Canada should not participate in this conflict.
It's the same anti-imperialist cause. The same forces are against, people from those different countries waging war.
The group says they will continue protesting until the conflict is over. Another severe storm is hitting Hawaii. Heavy rain and strong winds are causing dangerous flooding. The situation has many concerned about an aging dam near Honolulu. So far, thousands of residents have been relocated. Michelle Franzen reports.
A dangerous situation unfolding north of Honolulu. Rising floodwaters surging behind the 120-year-old Wahiawa Dam, now pushing it toward a possible failure. Thousands living downstream told to leave immediately. The Hawaii National Guard has been activated, and the governor is warning residents to get out now.
The dam, which has been safe, was getting close to 85 feet. That's why we sounded the alarms and made sure people could get over out of harm's way.
Relentless rain continues to pound the islands, with more on the way through the weekend, raising the risk for even more flooding. Already scenes like these in the rain and wind.
This is nuts, bro. Oh my God, it's rushing so fast.
What appears to be the roof of a home on a road and nearby flooded streets and front yards.
Come with me, family.
The heaviest rain is expected through Saturday, with the Big Island getting the worst of it. Wind gusts of 45 miles an hour are possible. The governor ordering all state departments closed and state workers not responding to the emergency to go home. Locals calling this storm Kona 2.0. It's the second so-called Kona low to hit the area. A Kona low is a subtropical cyclone that can cause extremely heavy rain like Hawaii has seen for the past week.
I've mobilized even more military reserves, and we have the troops coming in from Schofield to help. The Coast Guard will be out there to do search and rescue if, God forbid, any of our loved ones have been washed away with housing.
Residents in impacted areas urged to gather their families and head to shelters now. Parts of Oahu are without power. Michelle Franzen, ABC News, New York.
The sexual assault trial of Frank Stronach will resume at the end of this month. When it does, there will be fewer complainants and fewer charges. Allison Hurst looks at how we got here and what it could mean for future trials.
The Crown and defense have presented their cases in the sexual assault trial of billionaire Frank Stronach. And along the way, prosecutors announced they are no longer pursuing convictions on 5 charges linked to 3 of the complainants.
Throughout a trial, a Crown maintains a quasi judicial role. So they're not a judge, but they're supposed to view the evidence judiciously.
Defense lawyer Kim Schofield says the Crown has an obligation to assess its case and cease prosecution when they no longer have a reasonable prospect of a conviction, which is what happened here. She adds in other provinces pre-charge screenings take place, but that's not something done in Ontario.
There's many arguments to say that one of the reasons why our justice system is in such trouble, delay-wise, being overburdened, is that there's too many cases being prosecuted.
Putting the complainants through testifying and cross-examination only to have the charges dropped, though, is something advocates say is quite painful.
It dissuades a lot of people from wanting to participate in the system, especially to see that you can get that far to have already testified and then things can be thrown out.
Defense lawyer Leora Shamish spent her last day questioning witnesses focused on the 2 lead investigators in the case with the Peel Regional Police. Both testified they operated under the belief the 7 complainants were telling the truth and did little to verify their accounts.
I think there's a duty of care that's required when you are going to put a survivor through something like this. You really need to make sure you've got a good prospect of success. And unfortunately, in this case, it doesn't sound like that is what happened.
Alexa Barkley, a survivor herself who is also the lead advocate with End Violence Everywhere, says these high-profile cases do shed light on the problems in the system.
The Canadian Victims Bill of Rights is not enforceable, and the accused has lots of enforceable rights. And so until we fix that, I don't think it's ever going to be fair for survivors.
Stronach has pleaded not guilty to all charges. The trial is back for final arguments on March 31st. Allison Hurst, CTV News.
5 Canadian grocery stores have been fined nearly $50,000 by Canada's food watchdog. It's for mislabeling some imported items, claiming that they were Canadian. Kamal Karamali reports on the practice known as maple washing.
This grocery store in the Etobicoke neighborhood in Toronto, now one of 5 grocery stores across the country, fined by Canada's food watchdog for maple washing, labeling items incorrectly as being made in Canada when they're actually produced elsewhere.
I think it's long overdue. This is very much part of the maple washing drama that we've seen over the last several months.
5 stores fined a total of $47,000 by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, 2 in Ontario, both in Toronto, both owned by Loblaw, 1 in Atlantic Canada, and 2 from out west. But CFIA says between April of last year and mid-March of this year, it's seen more than 100 cases of stores mislabeling food items. They weren't fined, but instead received warnings or other penalties.
There's a ripple effect when something like this happens. So I think the deterrent, the general deterrent, is really the reputation. It's not as much as $10,000 if you're a large grocer.
The grocery giant Loblaw tells CTV News, with thousands of items on our shelves, information can change quickly, and there are times when signage may not be updated as quickly as inventory is replenished. Kamal Karamali, CTV News, Toronto.
Police body cam video from the night pop star Justin Timberlake was arrested has been released. Timberlake was charged with driving while intoxicated while in the Hamptons back in 2024. Ike Jochi has the story.
So the reason for the stop is because you keep veering off to the left and then you're not stopping at the stop signs.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
This morning, newly released police body camera footage showing the moment pop star Justin Timberlake was pulled over and then arrested for a DWI in the Hamptons in June 2024.
What are you visiting?
Yeah, I'm on tour.
What are you doing?
I'm on the world tour.
The incident happening amid his Forget Tomorrow World Tour, the singer revealing his identity to the officer.
I'm Justin Timberlake.
What's your name?
Justin Timberlake.
You are Justin Timberlake?
Yeah.
You're gonna be heel to toe like this. Heel to toe. Up.
Timberlake asked to undergo a series of field sobriety tests.
Guys, I'm just following my friends back to my house. I'm not doing anything. I'm just following my friends back to my house.
Will you do these tests?
Sure.
The then 43-year-old visibly struggling.
4,000, 5,000.
All right, that's all good.
All right.
All right.
By the way, these are like really hard tests.
Eventually, the officer asking him to use a breathalyzer.
So the way this device works, you just put your lips over it and you blow into it like you're blowing a balloon. No?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Then, placing him under arrest.
Come on, man. Like, I'm just following my friends home.
All right. Just turn around for me, please. No.
Still to come, the fog of war thickened by AI. Since the start of the war in Iran, AI-generated images and videos have been flooding social media, pushing misleading or sometimes false narratives, making it hard for people to fully understand what's really going on. Carmi Levy is a tech analyst and joins me now. Hi, Carmi.
Good to be with you, Matt.
Carmi, propaganda is nothing new during war, but with the use of AI now, what do you make of the way it's sort of progressing?
It's definitely off the charts. I mean, what we are seeing is an escalation in both the volume and sophistication of what we like to call synthetic assets. So whether it's misinformation, disinformation, deep fakes, videos masquerading as real when in fact they were created or edited using artificial intelligence, they are being used by pretty much everyone. So, the Iranian regime as well as the American administration to kind of push their narrative of how things are going. Makes it really difficult to determine what is real and what is not. We have seen footage that claimed as real that was simply recycled content from China or from Ukraine. We have also seen video game footage recycled or trying to be passed off as real. And so it's almost impossible to kind of see through that digital fog of war because everyone is kind of flooding the channels with this content, making it almost impossible to figure out what is going on.
From an onlooker's perspective, someone who's not on the ground, trying to understand, what's going on, are there some tricks that you can sort of pass along to try to catch some of these things, or are the AI videos just simply too good to be able to determine which are real and which aren't?
Well, they're certainly getting better all the time, but we can still lean in and look for those obvious tells. You can see things, the physics aren't quite there. The shadowing might be a little bit off. In some cases, you can actually download the video and run it through a chatbot, and it'll actually tell you if, in fact, it thinks it's real or not. Or just as easily, check to make sure that you know where it's coming from. If you can confirm the source and it's a legitimate source, then chances are it's legit. If you can't, do not engage with it. Do not share it on your social media channels. Instead, just report it as synthetic.
How successful have some of these AI propaganda campaigns been so far in this war?
They've been significantly successful. In many cases, messages coming out of the Iranian regime have gone viral and have sort of shown that they have achieved outcomes on the battlefield that simply did not happen. Same thing with the American side. They have used assets to sort of show attacks that may or may not have happened. We have no way of knowing. And so this disinformation campaign, this deliberate misinformation, sharing of misinformation, is flying back and forth on both sides, making it virtually impossible to tell what's going on. The risk here, of course, is that someone will share something that will touch off an even bigger escalation in conflict, might incite someone else to become involved before the truth is ultimately known.
So there's obviously the use of this technology for propaganda purposes, but also there's been an increase in cyber attacks as well. What are you seeing in terms of the cyber attacks so far during the war?
I mean, there's already been a significant attack against a medical technology company in the U.S. known as Stryker that has been attributed to the Iranian regime. We're seeing a significant uptick in attempts to target American sources, so American infrastructure, American companies, American government agencies. But at the same time, it's coming to Canada as well. The Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity warning that Iran is targeting Canadian interests as well, and we can expect to see an uptick in those attempts in the days and weeks to come. And we're not involved militarily, but because we have expressed support, for this action, Iran now sees us on the other side of this equation, and they are targeting us digitally as well. So heads up, if you're Canadian, you are not immune to this. You need to keep your eyes open because now that threat landscape has become much more turbulent in recent days.
Yeah, and Iran has also been targeting some data centers in the region. How vulnerable are Canadians to those types of attacks, even though they're happening on the other side of the world?
We are. I mean, we've seen physical attacks, drone attacks against 2 data centers in the United Arab Emirates and 1 in Bahrain that literally took the internet down in that region for much of the day. But they're also warning that Canadian data centers could be at risk as well. Obviously, they're not going to be lobbing drones directly into Canada, but they can certainly target our data infrastructure, our technology infrastructure, using digital attacks. And of course, because most of our lives are now spent in the cloud, data centers underpin that cloud. Take a data center out here in Canada, most of our online services will not work. So obviously, those operations are taking greater precautions to make sure that they're better protected, but Canadians need to be ultra aware of this as well.
Thank you, Carmi.
Appreciate it, Matt.
Time now for our In Case You Missed It. Friday was the first day of spring, and right on cue, Jeannie the black bear emerged from her hibernation at the Eco Museum. She was in for a rude awakening, though, with the less than spring-like weather. Christine Long was there.
After 113 days in her den having a snooze, Jeannie, the 15-year-old black bear, was active and ready to come out.
Partially environmental cues, but also after a set number of days, they're ready to come out, they're ready to start eating again.
At the Eco Museum in St. Anne de Bellevue, signs of spring are everywhere, except on the thermometer.
I don't think winter's over yet.
I think this is like the last winter storm, and it starts to warm up.
Even my tulips have already started to poke out from the ground. They're getting a little bit confused.
Environment Canada meteorologist Giselle Dukey says spring is delayed this year.
It's going to be colder than normal for this time of year, with also more precipitation expected than normal.
More precipitation, for example, means lots of snow on March 20th, the first day of spring.
Anywhere from about 7 to 10 centimeters of snow is expected for the Montreal region and surrounding area.
New snow isn't a bother for Jeannie, the bear who has lots to eat.
Black bears are quite well adapted to the winter time. So it's not a matter of how cold it is, but rather if she has access to resources.
But the bipeds in boots we spoke to say more snow is a bit of a bother.
I hardly wait for spring to come. It's time for the snow to go and for us to get into the summer fun.
Dukey says spring will come.
It's like later on, towards the second week in April, perhaps the 3rd, is when we start to see a bit of a warming signature, and it looks like temperatures will start to be warming up.
Be patient for spring, or sleep off this weather for a while longer. Christine Long, CTV News.
The Salon du Chocolat et de la Pâtisserie continues this weekend at Windsor Station. 60 vendors and exhibitors from all over the world are showing off their treats. Visitors can taste and learn how to cook and bake with chocolate, and there's more. Here's spokesperson Jean-François Cacou.
We also have a cocoa bar and a fashion show with dresses, chocolate dresses. So it's an event where we can showcase chocolate, and we can showcase also pastry and artisan, local and international.
The event continues Sunday until 6 o'clock. And still ahead, a Hollywood star branches out.
What's your favorite fruit?
Kale.
Kale's not a fruit.
Zach Galifanakis wants you to know how to garden.
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
Increasing number of abandoned buildings.
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. CTVMontreal.ca, your home for news.
Has tipping gotten out of hand? A survey suggests most Canadians are fed up with it and want it gone altogether. Kimberly Fowler digs into the data and looks at how a change could impact the service industry.
A lot of Canadians say they're pretty much done with tipping.
I think it should be included in the price. You shouldn't be asked to tip.
Just because you're doing your job doesn't mean you need to be tipped for doing your job.
Many businesses implemented suggesting tipping options during the pandemic, but now the expectation to leave a tip has some customers saying it's gone too far.
I used to love tipping extra for really good service, and I feel like that's kind of gone away now. Even for bare minimum service, they expect 18-20%.
And they're not alone. A new survey by H&R Block finds 2/3 of Canadians want to do away with the practice. And nearly 9 out of 10 people say they resent businesses that ask for tips at places where they don't feel tipping is necessary. And 4 out of 10 people say they avoid going to places that ask for tips at the register, like fast food places, coffee shops, or self-service counters.
I go to Chuck's here quite a bit. They don't ask for a tip, and the service is fantastic.
At Chuck's Deli and Convenience at train yards, tips aren't expected, but appreciated.
They have a tip jar, which is optional at the counter, which I do quite often with them because the ladies are fabulous.
The owner believes all tips should be left up to his customers.
Some good customers like to, and some people they don't. They walk out without tipping. One guy, construction worker guys, he grabbed a $50 and he put it for a lady. So you never know.
Chicken, pickle, vegetable?
But getting rid of tipping could affect the day-to-day operations in the service industry, and at restaurants, it could mean higher prices for customers to offset the loss of income to employees.
I would assume it would be included in the price. I mean, minimum wage is quite high already, so if tipping were to be taken away, I don't know what that would look like. I don't know what the workforce would look like for that.
But many say the tip options make them feel guilty or pressured.
Even though we feel annoyed by this question for the tip on the machine, 57% of us, so more than half of us, will give a tip anyway.
Kimberly Fowler, CTV News.
Almost 5 years after a catastrophic wildfire destroyed most of the village of Lytton, BC, dozens of people there still have not been able to go home. The recovery has been stalled by red tape in a small town overwhelmed by the massive rebuild. Michelle Brunoro reports.
June 30th, 2021, a raging wildfire roared through Lytton, leaving 2 people dead and burning nearly all of the village.
Lytton was such an unprecedented disaster event.
A disaster that, according to the mayor, means even today some people remain displaced and only about half the population, now around 100, has returned. A just-released report from BC's Auditor General examines the province's role in Lytton's slow recovery and found several challenges, including since revised provincial legislation that couldn't support the complex and unprecedented needs of the village.
It relied on funding programs that the village could not effectively leverage. It also followed an approach that expected communities to lead their own recovery regardless of capacity.
The province committed more than $60 million to the wildfire recovery. However, the report says that between 2022 and 2023, the village did not provide the province with all required progress and spending reports. Lytton's mayor says she doesn't know why reports weren't originally filed, but says there was staff turnover and a lot to figure out.
I think it took quite a long time to get everything organized and sorted out. It wasn't simple at all, very, very complicated.
Noted that it was very difficult for them to maintain records and at the level at which the province would normally be required. And so we changed our process to accommodate.
The minister says legislation for emergency management passed since the wildfire enables better planning should other communities face disaster.
I think we've incorporated a lot of those lessons learned from the experience at Lytton.
What the report doesn't address is the province's role in supporting those impacted by the same fire living outside Lytton Village.
Sadly, rural residents were completely ignored and seem to continue to be ignored, which is very disappointing.
Meanwhile, Lytton's mayor hopes the lessons learned can help other small communities. Michelle Bernoro, CTV News, Vancouver.
Owners of a specific Frigidaire gas range are being warned to stop using them immediately. There's a recall because of an increased burn risk. At least one person has been hurt in Canada and 30 people have reported injuries in the U.S. The company says the affected gas range can experience a delayed ignition of the oven's bake burner. More than 5,000 of these products have been sold in Canada. Frigidaire says owners of the affected ovens should contact Electrolux Group to get a new bake burner installed for free. Well, actor Galifanakis is branching out with a new series.
Food is so perverse right now. I think it's worth talking about it.
Without sounding stupid, what is a tomato?
And what we're leaving this next generation, they may have to know this stuff.
What's your favorite fruit?
Kale.
Kale's not a fruit.
The Hangover actor is hosting a series called This Is a Gardening Show, shot on Vancouver Island. It blends lighthearted humor and curiosity and features island school kids. His previous talk show, Between Two Ferns, ran for over 10 years. The new show begins streaming on April 22nd. As the World Cup inches closer, FIFA is setting the mood with some music.
Never felt this free before.
Lighter by Jelly Roll and Karine Leon is the first single released for the official FIFA World Cup 2026 album. The song was produced by Canadian Circuit, bringing all three host nations together. The full album will feature artists across continents and genres. FIFA says it's purposefully curated to mirror the diversity of the 48-team tournament. Coming up, how a dog tag is so much more.
You'll look out of the corner of your eye and expect to see them there.
The story of how it brought comfort and memories when we return. A gardener was surprised when something unusual popped up in the soil. The tiny object likely wouldn't mean much to most, but for one woman in Victoria, it meant the world. Adam Sawatsky has the story.
To appreciate why Karen Hedit-Nemi was so surprised by what she found buried in her garden.
Just as I was scraping the top surface of the dirt, there was a metal object.
To appreciate how meaningful it was to discover this dog tag from 1950.
I felt this instant comfort wash over me.
We need to go back to when Catherine met Gary Salmon in 2018.
We had each lost our spouse to cancer.
After connecting during an online grief class, they formed a friendship while hiking the Camino Trail in Spain that led to a long-distance romance between New Jersey and BC.
Wanting to not only move forward, but recapture some of the joy of everyday living.
Eventually, they married, and Gary moved to Canada along with his dog Muffin, who loved to have breakfast with Karen in the garden.
And Muffin would sit at my feet and wait to lick the yogurt bowl. I mean, how could I say no?
Muffin was a constant companion, even when the 16-year-old's health started declining rapidly.
She had her treats and she had lots of good snuggly naps. We loved on her a lot that day.
That day that Muffin died, that was followed by days filled with her absence being palpable.
You look out of the corner of your eye and expect to see them there. You think you see them, and they're not there. Is difficult.
As Karen reflects on her relationship with Muffin, she allows herself to feel all her feelings including gratitude.
That this pet filled our life with love.
Which brings us back to that discovery in the dirt.
If I had found that tag next year, it probably wouldn't have touched my heart the way that it did that morning.
Despite spending countless hours working with Muffin in this garden over the past years, Karen found a tag belonging to a previous owner's long-deceased dog just days after her own pet had passed.
It was whimsical. It brought a little bit of joy.
And while it could be a coincidence, or maybe a message from Muffin, Karen says it's definitely a reminder that if we keep our hearts open, finding love and life after loss is possible.
And as silly as it seems, I like to imagine the little spirit dog playing with Muffin.
Adam Sawatsky, CTV News, Victoria.
Time for another look at the weather. Currently 3 degrees in Montreal, sun and cloud for most of the day today, but that is going to start to change this evening. We are expecting periods of snow to start around 9 o'clock, and that's going to last right the way through tomorrow. All in, we could see around 10 centimeters of snow. Not exactly what we're hoping for the St. Patrick's Day parade. For the rest of the week, though, sun and cloud and hovering around 0 degrees for most of the week, with some more snow expected on Thursday. And that's it for us. Thanks for watching. Have a good evening.